Good morning, everyone. Dr. Vicky here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center. Today is the 6th of December, and we're going to be talking about the astrology of today. Normally, I do this walking through the garden, but it's really cold and very windy, and not even Charlie wants to be out there. So we're going to do it this way. And because I'm doing it this way, I can share my screen with you. Big day today, big things happening today. Um, and I'm just going to pull it up as to what that might be to share with you. All right, here we go. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Okay, so the big story today is Mars retrograde. And we'll look at the chart very briefly. Um, excuse me a second here. I have to do like technical stuff, which is always a crapshoot with me. Hi, Charlie. Gonna get up and everybody's, where you going, Charlie? Don't step on the computer, Charlie. That's not gonna be good. Mwah. All right. Charlie's gonna walk around on the floor. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I'm so sorry, guys. Usually I'm a little bit more with it. I haven't finished my first cup of coffee yet, and it seems like the cold weather does slow me down a bit. And then we'll talk about what the moon's in and all that stuff. But let's talk about Mars retrograde. Today, Mars goes retrograde, and it goes retrograde in the sign of Leo. It's actually at 7 degrees of Leo as it turns retrograde. It turns retrograde later today, but it's pretty much standing still right now. Mars is is the idea of forward motion, putting yourself out there, right? Getting it done. And then we have these periods of time, about every 2 years when Mars goes retrograde, and forward motion is stopped generally, and it's a time of review. And so we can look at the time period that this Mars retrograde uh, uh, that Mars is retrograde. I know there was a sentence in there. I lost it. Okay. So today we have a 26/8 vibration day. That is the Page of Wands. The Page of Wands is the messenger of spirit. And so today, spirit has a message for us. And Leo is the sign most associated with the God within, the spirit within us. Interestingly enough, the Sabian symbol for 7 degrees of Leo is a constellation in the sky, permanence of spiritual truth. Truths. As unchanging as star patterns, there are some basic truths that underpin all systems of spiritual knowledge. Knowing of the spiritual truth beneath the illusion of that which changes. Knowing the spiritual truth beneath the illusion of that which changes. Um, and so let's take a look at the actual chart. Maybe, yes? Okay, here we go. So here's the chart. This is a chart for the US, so thank you very much for those people who are not US citizens, but who are interested enough. As America goes, so goes the world, perhaps. Or I think maybe at this point is as the world goes, so goes the US. One of the things that is a wound of the United States, I would say, is this sense of um, exceptionalism, that we're exceptional at everything that we do. Well, I don't know. I think the way we do democracy isn't quite that exceptional. So there's that. Plus the fact that we're going through a Chiron return right now. The United States has been under a lot of pressure with a Pluto return, which is we're still in the process of. A Neptune opposition. Oppositions are about awareness, the awareness of who we are. Um, what we mean in the world, what we mean to the world, perhaps. Neptune being one of the more transpersonal planets, so it's a larger scope than just our personal experience, right? And the Chiron return, which is we have one more sort of hit of the Chiron return that's been happening all year. So considerations about this particular Mercury retrograde cycle. Now I have done this. I I have done this. Did you hear the cat? I have done this before in my weekly. So I talk about this in when I did the week ahead last week, which is this week that we're talking about. Okay. Anyway, um, Mars is retrograde on the north node of the United States in the Sibley chart. The Sibley chart has the north node in Leo in the eighth house, I believe, and now it is now Mars is sitting there, and you know the north node in Leo in the eighth house is leading the collective, right? Leading the collective, this energy of leading the collective. Hold on 1 minute. I have to let my cat out. So sorry about this. Yes, dear. I know. I know. I will let you out. Just give me a second here. The other interesting fact of this Mars retrograde is that Mars is actually the ruler of the north node of the moon in the sky right now. So our collective evolution moving in the direction of Aries, coming to understand who we are, perhaps. And now it's a time for we've moved forward. The thing with Aries is that we tend to move forward 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward. So we always go a little bit too far with the cardinal signs, especially Aries, because Aries is such an impulsive energy. It's the energy of becoming. So we're like, here we are. Ah. And now Mars retrograde is saying, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. Let's rethink this, right? So there is this sense now that something is stopping and we're going to reconsider something, right? And it's not just us, it's the world in general. And of course, Mars is about aggression, it's about masculinity, it can be about war, but it can also about being who you are, your unique self, your I am presence, right? We all want to breathe free, right? And yet we have situations where people are choosing free will to go in the direction where their ability to be who they truly are is held back, right? So you guys know what I'm talking about. So there is this struggle, and of course the nodes of the moon are for all of us in the world. So we're all trying to sort of reach out to become who we are. South node in Libra, renegotiating our social contracts and necessary renegotiation of social contracts, because certainly our social contracts have gotten us to this point, and it doesn't seem like a really great point to be at. Save that. If you don't know what the problem is, how can you fix it, right? Or how can you have to have the awareness first. So we are definitely aware that we are on the cusp of something. Now, the moon is still in Aquarius today. I believe it moves into Pisces, but I'm not positive. If it does move into Pisces, it moves into Pisces late tonight. And then the next couple of days we'll have that Pisces moon, which you know I'm going to enjoy because it's my favorite moon. All right. This cycle runs from December 6th today to February 23rd. So most of December, all of January, and most of February, 3 months, right? 3 months where Mars is retrograde. Now, Mars is going to retrograde back into 17 degrees of Cancer, where it turns around and comes forward. Now, these are very important, and I want to point these dates out to you. First of all, 7 degrees of Leo, as I said, constellations in the night sky. That's when spiritual truths, right? That's when Mars stops. Now it's going to go all the way back, and in February, it's going to turn direct at 17 degrees of Cancer, a germ grows into knowledge and life. This is an idea of a seed formation. So this Mars retrograde, this 3 months, okay, is going to be us going back over some things. And from that, a seed will develop, which we will plant when Mars goes direct. Okay. Mars begins its retrograde at 7 of Leo and ingresses back into Cancer on January 6th, 2025. So we go from Leo, which is the North Node is in Leo, right? For the I'm sorry, for the US. Um, and then it goes back into Cancer on January 6th. January 6th is a Tower day. It's a 16-7 vibration. Tower. Tower card in the tarot is associated with Mars. Okay. Move back. And then, so it goes, I'm sorry. It goes into Cancer. Mars stations direct on February 23rd, 2025. And that's a 34-7 vibration. That is the Eight of Wands, all the information coming in. Okay, so a lot of information when Mars goes direct. And now it's going to move forward. It's going to move forward, but it's still in its shadow, right? It's still in its shadow. It moves back into Leo on April 18th, 2025, which is a 31-4 vibration. In the Kabbalah, that is a Mars energy. So we have Mars again. So we have Mars. We actually have Sag, then Mars, then Mercury, then Mars, and then it comes out of its retrograde shadow on May 2nd, 2025. That's when it's out from under this whole. So by May 2nd, 2025, we're going to have a fuller picture of what this Mars retrograde was about. And that day is also a Tower day. So it's all about illumination. There's a lot of illuminations coming. And a lot of this stuff is out of our hands. And so we have to figure out a way to move through this time, right? And glean what we need to glean. Now, wherever you have in your chart between 7 degrees of Leo, or we could say between 17 degrees of Cancer to 7 degrees of Leo, that section of your chart, Mars is going to go over 3 times. So you have to kind of know your chart, what that's going to mean. Mars can be very irritating. Mars can be very frustrating when it's going retrograde. As it goes retrograde in Leo, it points to Aquarius. As it goes retrograde in Cancer, it points to Capricorn. So there is this energy underlying this retrograde, perhaps, of collectivity, affecting the world, affecting the collective, affecting humanity, and affecting the powers that be, Capricorn, right? Okay. The sun is the ruler of Leo. So the position of the sun is significant as Mars goes a retrograde in Leo. And the sun is at 16 degrees of Sagittarius. Seagulls watching a ship, trusting the survival instinct. It requires clarity and self-discipline to resist the temptation to become habituated to comforts and forget natural instincts. Mastery of alertness. What does this mean? It means that this is a serious thing and we have to keep our eyes open. We have to be aware of our environment. We need to be aware of what's going on. We can't necessarily live in our own little bubbles. You can have your bubble time in order to as a rest for this, for a way to rejuvenate, right? But it's important to be aware, not that you have all that much influence over what's going to happen, because this is very much a collective lesson for all of us, right? So it's not going to be so much about that, but you do need to know that with Mars retrograde, the way it's moving, the interactions that it makes, it can be a dangerous time, and we live in a dangerous world. So don't lull yourself into complacency with this energy, but be alert, Be alert, but do your best not to allow what's happening. Um, Allow it to inform you, but not drag you down into the pits of hell, which it could do if you let it. So be aware of that. Okay. By the time Mars goes direct, the North Node is going to be out of Aries and it's going to be in Pisces. It's going to be in Pisces, and that happens in January, and then it conjoins Neptune, I believe, in January or February. So Pisces is fog, illusion, not seeing clearly, but it is a spiritual energy. And so be kind to each other, be kind to yourself today, this day, be careful. Uh, People may start to feel frustrated and they'll take it out on you. Don't allow that to happen. Be careful while you're driving. This is always a fraught time. Traveling can be a fraught time. Just keep your eyes open and be aware of what is going on. Let's see, is there anything else? And the other thing about this Mars retrograde is that Mars has been in an opposition to Pluto now for a couple of months, really. Its exact opposition was November 3rd, um, 2 days before the election and in America. And it's been in orb of this before that. I can't exactly remember in my head when it was. But it's so for a lot of this, at least while it's in Leo, we're gonna have these oppositions to Pluto. And the Pluto opposition to Mars is the halfway point of the Pluto-Mars synodic cycle, which deals with the soul, the world soul, in this case in Aquarius, because the initial conjunction happens in Aquarius, is expressing itself through um, our personal need to get our desires met. And in Leo, it's being recognized, right? It's I'm here. I'm here. I'm a spark of the divine, right? So that's the energy. So hopefully this is good enough information for you. I'm going to stop here now. Hold on. Oh, there I am. So have yourself a careful day. Take care of yourself. Aquarius moon, good moon to keep things at an arm's length, emotional stuff at an arm's length. Once it moves into Pisces, we're going to be a little bit, things are going to get a little bit more nebulous, but it may be a good time to trip the light fantastic a little bit and connect with spirit. And a lot of self-care. A lot of self-care is important through this period, as is uniting with those of similar vibration. And right now we're grouping, I think, is what's happening. And at some point, those groups are going to have to start to connect with other groups. But I think that at this point, we are coalescing into our tribes, but we always have to understand that. And I think that many of us in this tribe understand how when you're so vibrating on a certain level, you can sometimes you don't see things that because you don't have you're not looking there. And so I think that we're all getting sort of tested with that. And I think we're all learning some valuable lessons. But ultimately, Pluto in Aquarius is about raising all boats, and the water is rising. So get on your boat, and then we'll figure out how the boats interconnect and to communicate with each other so that we can actually put into practice these Aquarian ideals to raise the boats and to even things out because things are not even. And I do think that at least the first third of Pluto in Aquarius is going to be about evening things out. And for those of us who live in countries who are used to being on top, we're going to have to get used to not being the big fromage anymore. Like that's what they used to call Kennedy, the big fromage. We're not the big fromage anymore, if we ever were. But we do have something worth fighting for. We do have that. And so we will. I love you guys. Take care. Have a great Friday. Tomorrow night, Saturday, on this channel, Victoria Skirbo, Mystic Sisters. We're going to talk about all this stuff. It's going to be a good one. I love you. Take care and take your Friday nice and easy. Namaste.